lesson 5-6, how to use the Pythagorean theorem. This is an extension of the last lesson that we did, which was just how to calculate the measure of triangles. Today we're actually going to use it in real-world problems. You can follow along with me starting on page 424. We're going to take a look at example number 1. For example number 1, it says to write an equation that can be used to find the length of the ladder. Notice when the ladder leans against the building, it creates this 90-degree angle right here. So we have ourselves a right triangle. We can still use our Pythagorean theorem that says a squared plus b squared has to equal c squared. Your first step would be to write down the Pythagorean theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Your two legs would be 8.75 and 18. So label them a and b and fill those values in. Next, remember you do exponents first, so we're going to square 8.75, which is 76.5625, and we're going to square 18, which is 324. When I add those together, the sum is 400.5625. That is what c squared equals. Last, you're going to take the square root of 400.5625, and you get a positive or negative 20. Remember, you're only going to refer to the positive one. 20 is an approximation. It's a little bit over 20. You'll get a decimal answer, but we can go ahead since it says just about how long is it and round to 20. Next, let's take a look at example number 2. For example number 2, you're asked to write an equation that could be used to find the height of the plane and then solve. Round to the nearest tenth. So we're going to go ahead and round our answer to the nearest tenth. The distance between the planes is the hypotenuse of the triangle. Distance between the two is the 12. That's our hypotenuse, which is c. We're going to use the Pythagorean theorem to find the height of how high the plane is. This leg is going to be a, 10, and this leg is already labeled b. Fill the values that you know into the theorem. A is 10, so we have 10 squared. We don't know b, leave it alone. And c is 12, so it becomes 12 squared. Next, do your exponents. 10 squared is 100. 12 squared is 144. Again, just like in lesson 5.5, since we're solving for one of the legs, we have to subtract 100 from both sides to go ahead and find b. 144 minus 100 equals 44. That's the value of b squared. To find b, take the square root of 44, and we get about 6.6. Remember, your answer was, you were told to round your answer to the nearest
Gabe
tenth.
Tacey, if you're in the building, please come to the office immediately. Gabe Tacey to the office immediately.
Sorry for the interruption. Since the distance cannot be negative, again, that's why we're only using the positive 6.6 as your answer. Go ahead and pause the video and see if you can do the got it on page 425, part A. Okay, when you come back, let's finish looking at the Pythagorean theorem in 3 dimensions. Here we have a 12-foot flagpole. The flagpole is placed in the center of a square area. To stabilize the pole, they're going to put a wire that stretches from the top to the ground. The question is, what is the length of the wire? Here and here. Okay? So let's take a look at this diagram a little bit more. See, notice the right triangle that is formed. Here. This will be our hypotenuse. Now in the directions, they refer to the sides as AB and AC. Don't let that confuse you too much. This is just like A, and this is just like B, our two legs. The legs make up the right angle, remember, and the hypotenuse is always directly across from the right angle. So don't worry too much about the AB and the AC that you see there. You can think of them as just A squared and B squared if that's confusing to you. Plug in the 7 and 12 that we know. 7 squared is 49, 12 squared is 144, and we're looking for c squared. Again, we can just call this c all the way down if that's confusing. When I add 49 and 144 together, you get 193. So take the square root of both sides, and you get about 13.9. So the distance of this wire would be about 13.9. Again, remember that it always needs to be the longest or the largest of the 3 distances because it is the hypotenuse. Go ahead now on page 426 and try the got it at the top of the page. You need to turn both of your got it responses into Edmodo. Thanks.